Good morning. Here is a summary of the Captiva Community Panel monthly meeting that was held on June 13th. After approving last month's minutes, David Mintz went over the Lee County Height and Density Ordinance again to make sure all the panel members were informed of the issues. Since CCP was formed years ago, the county has worked closely with CCP, so for Lee County to go behind CCP's back on this ordinance is suspicious and distressing. But in my opinion, that is the government today, not very trustworthy. Before the June 6th Lee County Board meeting, Commissioner Ruan asked the agenda item number 8 be deferred from the public hearing on June 20th. The Lee County Attorney and County Manager refused, which is very rare. Traditionally, when a commissioner requests a deferral, it is usually respected and agreed to. Mintz went over the details again. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please watch my Captiva emergency meeting video. The South Seas rep for the CCP is Bob Walter, and he was at this meeting. The panel voted to support the decision to not support this ordinance. Bob Walter excused himself from the vote and had the nerve to chastise the panel for talking about this issue outside of this meeting because he says it goes against the spirit of the Sunshine Law. If you're not familiar with the Sunshine Law, basically it covers transparency in the government. I guess since Bob Walter is representing a private company, he thinks he doesn't have to be transparent. Bob then complained that no one called him to discuss this issue. Then Ken the lawyer had to remind Bob that talking to him would have been a potential violation had anyone reached out to him. The panel basically asked if he knew about South Seas working on these changes, and he very diplomatically said he was not aware of the changes the county was working on. That is a wordsmith right there, because we all know South Seas started these changes, but they are trying to cover their behinds by saying it is the county who started it. South Seas thinks we are stupid. Why would the county give South Seas exemption status unless they specifically asked for it? Ken Cerez, the rep for South Seas condo owners, read parts of a letter he received from the owners of South Seas. Quoting, "While we have not yet submitted any requests to Lee County for zoning changes that would affect building height and density requirements, we appreciate the county's proactive approach in addressing mandatory FEMA flood zone requirements on building height measurements throughout this region." End quote. Kevin had a very good idea. Since South Seas is saying they did not request the change, then the board should stress to the commissioners there is no rush to act on this change and it should be pushed off for further review. In other words, why give South Seas exemption status if they say they're not asking for it? The debate took up 2 hours of the meeting. The last half hour was going over normal business, like getting the sheriff's update from Mike Sawiski. He reported a couple of thefts of fishing gear from boats on the Roosevelt Channel. He recommends placing cameras that cover your dock area. Video evidence helps prosecute these cases. Jeff from the fire department updated that the roof on the firehouse is getting replaced this week. He did point out that if the building height is increased on Captiva, that new fire equipment would need to be purchased because they do not have the equipment to fight fires on higher buildings. Captiva's budget is looking good. SCCF is worried about summer water quality due to the blue algae bloom and water levels on the Calahoosie River. Captiva is overrun with iguanas. They might need to have the trapper come more than 2 days a week. Side note, I have visited these islands numerous times and I have yet to see an iguana. I need to see if this trapper allows ride-alongs. Thanks for listening.